Welcome back to Man vs. Meeple, the show where we talk about everything board game related. I am your host, Jeremy Salinas, here to talk to you about a brand new game from Asmodee in conjunction with Bombyx Studios. We're talking today about Legendary Inventors, and it's very neat, David.
Yeah, it's very cool. I didn't know anything about this game, and there's a lot to like about it.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful game. It's not a super deep, heavy game.
Right.
Great game for families, and honestly, this would be a great game for schools, too. I can't imagine a teacher in the world who wouldn't want this in their classroom.
So in the game, players are going to take on the roles of Legendary Inventors, right?
Exactly. I've got Isaac Newton right here in front of me.
So you will have a tableau in front of you of 4 inventors that range from an era of time. So looking at my guys here, I have Hildegard von Bingen, and there's 4 different classifications of invention types they can do.
It's physics, chemistry, mechanics, and mathematics.
Yes, and they all have their own inherent abilities right off the start. So I'm starting with a 1 in each of these classifications.
And what's really cool is they're thematically built around these inventors, too.
Yes, absolutely.
They make sense for who you've got in front of you.
Absolutely. So each player starts with 4 of these. You're going to have your own, like we said, starting numeric value, which will be these little cool punch boards that go inside of the holes that are there.
Yeah, these boards are very thick and deep because you're going to be putting more and more things in those holes.
Right, to make their abilities greater.
Right, increase their abilities.
Also on these cards, you have a goal, which they're trying to get up to make them a legendary inventor. If you get up to this goal, for instance, this player needs 1, which you already start off with, and 3 in the chemistry and 1 in the mechanics. In order to do that, you're going to have to do inventions.
Right.
And if you do that by the end of the game, you're going to get 6 victory points for this particular character. So also in the game, you have inventions.
Right.
And they come in 3 different ages. So you're going to play through 3 rounds, so to speak, trying to invent these cards in front of you.
And what's cool about this, in my opinion, is you're not... Usually these types of games, you're securing these things in and of yourself.
Sure.
In this one, all of the inventors all over the place are contributing to these inventions, which I think is kind of a cool thing. Especially in, a 3, 4, 5 player game, you're able to get a lot of your pieces. You put these little cubes out on the inventions and sort of get varying degrees of rewards depending on how much you contributed to each invention.
Right. So to start the game, you're going to pull from the Age 1 invention stack. You're going to place cards there according to the number of players plus 3. So we have 7 starting off here. The cards in that stack look like this. On them, you have rows of the same types of attributes that you need in order to complete that invention. How many victory points it's worth, and then you have a number over here ranging from 0 to, I believe, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So on your turn, this is what... Oh, also, before that happens, you're also going to take from the bag 2 markers.
Yeah, these are the rewards, or at least part of the rewards.
Right.
Each card is going to get 2 of these markers. On the backs of all of these is a number 1.
Right.
So, like we said earlier, if you need to add a 1 to one of your inventors to make them legendary, you can use it that way. But the other side usually has a little juicier things. The 2s, the 3s, the 4s. And then there's a number of other little categories for, things that you can sort of use as a one-time effect that help you kind of break the game a little bit in your favor.
That's right. So to start off, each of these gets 2 tokens. And the reason why it gets 2 tokens is because when the invention is completed, the rewards are either a token, one of the 2 tokens, or the card itself, which is basically patenting that specific invention. So on a turn, it's super simple. All you do is you pick one of your inventors, and you get to do one of 2 things. You either get to use the inventor in order to try to build an invention or contribute to that invention, or you get to refresh all of your inventors. So how this works is basically like this. We'll go back to Hildegard. If I specifically wish to tap this character, you take the tile and you tap it to the side, just like Magic the Gathering or anything else.
Exactly.
And then you're allowed to place cubes on any one of the inventions according to whatever they have available. So I could put 1 of the light bulb and 1 of the chemistry.
Right.
Anywhere on here. So very basically, I could go 1 here and 1 here. And that's my turn.
Exactly. And you're probably already starting to see the reason why you want to take some of those numbers throughout the game. Later in the game, if she has a 4 in chemistry, you're able to contribute significantly in one turn.
Right.
So you're able to maybe even complete a card really quickly that way.
Right.
So all of the things, the rewards, how you're sort of upgrading, if you will, your inventors really has this nice dynamic. It kind of makes the game build up, and you're able to make some really big moves later in the game as you get your inventors close to what, legendary status.
So it goes around the table in turn order until someone completes an invention.
Right.
Completing invention is when you have cubes of all the players on, or any number of players on all of these square locations on a card. What happens then is the player that completed the invention gets that cool little statue, which is Leonardo da Vinci.
Right.
That denotes them as basically the starting player for the round and the tiebreaker for it. Then you're going to divide up the rewards of that specific card. The card that you get, so say again, for instance, we have this mechanical clock that was completed. Whoever has the most amount of tokens on there gets their choice of either the card or any of the 2 tokens that were available on that card.
Right.
The tiebreaker is whoever has the statue.
Exactly.
Right? And then you go in clockwise order, starting with the statue player. Again, the tiebreaker is the turn order. So if I win this outright and I'm the blue player, I would get to pick one of the 2 rewards. The player to the left of me would get the second choice if there's a tie and then a round.
Right. And they of course have to have cubes on the card in order to play ball there.
Absolutely.
So, right. There's a couple things that can happen that are interesting in a larger player count.
Right.
You can have a cube on a card. Sometimes you can just shirt tail it and jump on a card just thinking, okay, he's going to get it all, but I'm going to get the second reward.
Right.
But then if someone comes on there and beats you just by 1 cube, you've wasted a cube, wasted a turn probably, and you're out of luck.
Right.
That's a really cool dynamic, because the other thing is you play around like that until there's just one invention on the board, and then you go to the next round.
Sure.
So you don't finish all the inventions in each round.
Right.
So you can also be stuck at the end of the round with 2 or 3 cubes on the invention that never got made.
That's right.
Which, again, is kind of regretful that you look back and you wasted a turn. So you have to be really careful and understand what you can do and when, so that you can get things done and get those rewards.
So as David said, you'll play the round out until there's 1 invention left. When that happens, every player pulls their cubes from the last invention. That invention goes away, and then you reseed the board with, in this case, 7 more cards from age 2, and you play the round again until that happens, and you play all 3 rounds, and you total up the scores. How do scores work? Now, before we get into the scores, let's talk about the tokens that you can acquire. The tokens that you can acquire, as David said at the very beginning, on the back side of them there's always a number 1, which can be used in any of your inventors to give that player 1 ability in that, whatever that specific stat is. If you don't use that side, you can use the bonus side. And these can range in numbers from 2 to 4. In order to place these on an inventor, you can place it any time on your turn, but it has to be over the previous number. So in order to place a 2, it has to go over a number 1.
Right, and a 3 on a 2.
Exactly. The other tokens that you can win are straight up victory points. They look like these, and those are just calculated at the end of the game. You can win a coffee mug, which is there's only a few of these in the game.
Very few.
When you use this token, it's a free refresh. Now remember, on your turn, you're either tapping a character to use their abilities, or you're untapping all of your characters to use on the next turn.
Right, so a free refresh is huge, because if you've wasted all your guys and then it goes around the table again, you'd normally have to waste another turn and let it go all the way around. So having that would be huge.
Another token is 2 cubes. Whenever you place a cube from an inventor on something, you're allowed to place 2 more cubes. And they don't have to be on the same location that you have in the inventor. So if you don't have a compass on your inventor, you can still place them on the compass with that.
Nice.
And the last one is a star, and this is for in-game scoring. And let's go ahead and get right into in-game scoring. Do you want to go ahead and talk them? There's 4 things you score for.
Yeah, well, the first thing is each invention that you've completed is worth the victory points that are labeled on the card.
Right.
And then in addition to that, and this is the thing that lured me, the inventors themselves, if you try to reach legendary status, you get the points that are on the inventor's card. And some of these, as Jeremy was going through the numbers, you might be asking yourself, well, why wouldn't you want all the higher numbers?
Sure.
That'll help you during the game.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't really need those high numbers in order to reach legendary status. I was playing in one of my games where the inventor just needed 1s across the board.
Yeah, this guy only needs a 2, 1, 1, and 2 in order to get 9 victory points.
Exactly. And 9 victory points in this game is pretty solid.
It's substantial.
So you've got the points on the cards for the invention cards. cards, you got the points for the inventors, and then can you explain the
Sure.
set collection? Well,
You get the tokens also, and then you get set collection according to runs. Now, on each of these cards, you're going to notice a little blue box next to the victory points. That's a run. These numbers range from 0 up to, I believe, 5 or 6. A run always starts at the number 0. Whatever that run ends at is how many victory points you get. So if you have a run of 0 to 3, you get 3 extra victory points. And that can be over multiple different sets. So you can start with 0 and end with 4 and have another one that starts with 0 and ends with 3, and you'd get 7 victory points total. Add up all those victory points, whoever has the most wins. So let's get into pros and cons.
Yeah.
I'll go first. Pros is the artwork is absolutely stunningly beautiful. The gameplay is simplistic and very easy to learn, which I absolutely love. And there is a lot of options to make. I mean, you're deciding which one of these cards you wish to go to. You're looking around the board, so there's constant interaction with players. What do they have? Can I spend a turn? Refreshing, or do I need to go now in order to secure a card, in order to get a reward there?
A lot of good decision making, for sure.
A ton of good decision making. And it doesn't outweigh its welcome. It's like 30 to 45 minutes.
No, it's a very short game. Once you start playing, you're like, okay, this is going along pretty fast. The rounds are done before you know it.
Sure.
And once you finish one round, you think, okay, these second and third rounds are going to go pretty quickly.
Right.
What about cons?
The big con I have is that it suffers in a 2-player game, and the reason for that is that there are 3 rewards no matter how many player count you have. So there's always going to be 2 tokens and 1 card as the reward when an invention is completed. In a 2-player game, all you're worried about is being on that card. Basically getting 1 cube on that card to secure a reward from that card when it gets
usually
completed.
Choosing between any of the 3 rewards is pretty good.
Right.
Like, if I'm on there, if you take whatever you want, I'm fine with choosing from the other 2, generally speaking. So I would agree. I'll start with my cons. And I share that exact same one. It suffers. I mean, it was still entertaining and fun, but it suffers compared to the larger player count, for sure. Larger player count brings into a lot more decision making, obviously a lot more looking around to see what people are up to, and a lot more timing choices that you have to make. The pros, I underscore everything you said. The artwork is fantastic. The gameplay, the pace is very good. One other thing I would add, and this is because I've worked in schools to some degree, and this would be an absolute fantastic learning experience for kids. There's a rule book. There's also a separate book that has detailed biography information on all of the inventors in here. And the fact that they have this in here, the artwork is fantastic. And like I said earlier, the statistics they start with make sense for what they do.
Inventor,
So you could have a whole big group of kids sort of work as teams even, and take each inventor, learn about the inventor, and then play the game and have it make sense to them from what they know of the inventor.
I agree.
So yeah, it's a really, really great little game. It's just kind of a delight to play, really.
Yeah, it definitely shines in the 4-player, 3 and 4 player, for sure, just because of the choices that are made with rewards and where you
I would say 4 players is
claim.
definitely the sweet spot for this.
So that is Legendary Inventor, guys. Go check it out. It's definitely worth playing.
Yes.
We'll have a place on my shelf for sure. Make sure you guys make comments to this video and YouTube. Subscribe to us, please. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook and all the other social media aspects. And check in next time for Man vs. Meeple.
Thanks.
Season 1 of Man vs. Meeple is sponsored by TMG Games, publisher of great games like Yokohama, Guilds of London, and the soon-to-be-released Colosseum.